Hello, good evening. Welcome to North West Tonight, Monday evening. I'm Roger Johnson. Thank you for joining us. Our top story. A taxi driver who incited the Southport riots is jailed for 7.5 years after being tracked down by anti-hate campaigners.
It's a good warning to those people that think that they can sit at home and engage in racism and fascism and violence and they'll get away with it, because this proves that they won't.
Andrew McIntyre incited that violence through 160 anonymous social media accounts. Also tonight, around 200 schools are closed as the winter weather continues across the region. David Beckham called her the heartbeat of Manchester United. The Stars turn out for the funeral of the club's long-serving receptionist.
55 years. I did 26 and I thought that was unbelievable. So she was a fantastic person.
I'm Dave.
Oh, from Banker Dave.
Guilty as charged.
Hollywood had the Golden Globes last night. Burnley, the Bank of Dave 2, and a red carpet moment of its own.
And once again, we saw some snow this morning, some very pretty scenes from today with some blue skies as well. It's going to stay cold all week. Threats of more snow and ice. I'll bring you the details at the end of the programme.
Taxi driver Andrew McIntyre from Ormskirk was jailed for 7.5 years today for orchestrating a campaign of hate and disorder which fuelled the riots after the murder of 3 girls in Southport last summer. The 39-year-old neo-Nazi used 160 anonymous social media accounts to urge mobs to target a local mosque and burn down Spello Library in Liverpool. He was caught after an anti-hate campaign group pieced together his identity from his online accounts. Ian Haslam has this report.
Rioting outside a mosque in Southport following the fatal stabbings of 3 young girls in the town. A key figure in coordinating the disorder and spreading misinformation was Andrew McIntyre. In the immediate aftermath of the knife attack, he'd set up a social media channel which Liverpool Crown Court heard encouraged followers to take part in disorder. Hours before the mosque was targeted on July 30th, he'd posted a threat to police, writing, "Stand in our way, even if you're just doing your job, prepare to fall."
Now, while there wasn't a single person that organised everything nationally, in the Northwest, it was clear that there was a single group basically called Southport Wake Up, which was a channel on a social media app called Telegram. And it was clear that this channel was really important for a number of the major events that were happening in the Merseyside area, both in Southport and then Liverpool.
Though McIntyre had been arrested for carrying a knife in the area where the Stockport mosque disorder took place, he was released the next day and began organising further violence, posting from more than 160 anonymous accounts. It was through these that Hope Not Hate uncovered his identity, which they passed on to police.
By doing a huge amount of work to try and look at the way that language was used, to see that there were certain tells that this person clearly used certain words and spelt words in certain ways, looking through hundreds of images and pictures and messages over 160 channels, my colleague Gregory Davis managed to find out who it was and trace back and find out who was the person behind this really fundamental Telegram channel, which was essentially one of the key architects of the whole week of violence around the country.
McIntyre had coordinated a hit list of 39 targets across the country, including a mosque in Liverpool, and encouraged his followers to torch a library. Spello Library in Liverpool was set alight on August 3rd and only reopened last month after a huge community effort to repair the damage.
The research skills we have and others have are too good to allow people to get away with this. And so it's a good warning to those people that think that they can sit at home and engage in racism and fascism and violence and they'll get away with it, because this proves that they won't.
Sentencing him, Judge Neil Flewick KC told McIntyre, "You were motivated by racial hatred. I have no doubt your actions encourage many people to commit violent disorder and criminal damage." Ian Haslam, BBC North West Tonight.
Now, after the flooding last week, the weekend brought snow, and the disruption which that caused continued today. In Lancashire, over 100 schools were closed, and there were difficult travelling conditions in many parts of the northwest as many people went back to work after an extended festive break. Katie Barnfield has this report.
Empty buildings on the first day back. More than 100 schools were forced to close across Lancashire today as snow and ice covered the region. At Pendle Primary School, tree surgeons had to be called in to cut down branches damaged by the weight of the snow.
This limb is split in the main union there and just come down onto the road, so we're just clearing it back and making it safe now. Clearly it's been very cold. I mean, the hills are still full of snow, so it is what it is, isn't it, you know.
In Burnley, around a dozen schools have been shut because of the bad weather, with further closures in parts of Greater Manchester and another 40 in Cheshire.
Go, Sue, go!
At West Park in Macclesfield, some families were making the most of the snow day.
I was surprised school was off, to be honest with you, but, you know, we've had a fun family day, so all good.
It's perfect.
A worse morning, though, for passengers at Manchester Airport. After flights were grounded yesterday, runways were closed again because of more heavy snow overnight. They have since reopened and flights are running, but with some delays. The icy conditions have also caused chaos on the roads, with closures on major routes in and out of the northwest, including parts of the M60 and M62, which have since reopened.
You've effectively got this kind of clumping ice that's gone on. So it's kind of started to melt, refreeze again, and that's causing some issues.
Cheshire Police put out a warning to motorists this afternoon to respect the closures after they had to rescue an HGV driver whose lorry became trapped on a dangerous bend on the A537 near Macclesfield. There's also been disruption on the railways. Merseyrail stopped all trains between Chester and Hooton this morning because of flooding on the line that they say overwhelmed nearby pumps. Tonight, the Environment Agency has issued new flood warnings for the River Bollin, including for properties close to Little Bollington, where part of the Bridgewater Canal collapsed on New Year's Day. And there could be further disruption ahead across the northwest, with more sleet and snow expected overnight. Katie Barnfield, BBC Northwest Tonight.
Katie's after Simon's job. Simon will have a full weather forecast for us at the end of the programme. Let's take a look at a couple of the other main stories making headlines in the northwest tonight now. And 8 people were detained by police over reports of tragedy chanting at Anfield during yesterday's Premier League match between Liverpool and Manchester United. A 46-year-old man from Nottinghamshire and a 28-year-old man from the United States were arrested. 6 people were asked to attend interviews under caution. Stockport's been revealed as one of the worst performing councils for building new homes. Government data shows it built just over half the homes it was required to between 2020 and 2023, and that puts it in the bottom 10% of the country's planning authorities. Now, some of the biggest names in Manchester United's recent history attended a funeral today, not for a former player or a coach or a manager, but for someone they would say was just as important. Kath Phipps here. She was the club's receptionist for more than half a century, a constant in a sometimes turbulent sporting world. Kath died last month at the age of 85. Phil Cunliffe reports.
It's a measure of her popularity that Kath Phipps was honoured with a funeral at the city's cathedral, just like Sir Bobby Charlton. It was a chance for United's good and great to say farewell. The likes of David Beckham, Roy Keane and Nicky Butt, as well as Brian Robson and Peter Schmeichel.
Kath was incredibly important to Manchester United. I spent a lot of time with her, sat next to her in reception, doing my mail and listening to stories that she would tell about, back when she was with Sir Matt, for instance. And for someone like me coming from a different country, that was really, really valuable to me.
Fresh from their draw at Liverpool yesterday, Ruben Amorim and his first-team players. But Kath Phipps was a link between the present day and the past, the days of Sir Matt Busby and Sir Alex Ferguson.
She deserves something really special because she's a special person. 55 years. I did 26 and I thought that was unbelievable.
A local girl from Earlham, Kath Phipps joined United in 1968 as a switchboard operator. She worked in reception at Old Trafford and later the training ground in Carrington. She enjoyed a special bond with Beckham. This was him holding her hand prior to her death last month. In his eulogy, Sir Alex Ferguson described Kath Phipps as a remarkable lady. He said that it's unusual to have someone who is so committed and who love people so much. The people you see here today are here to honour a very special person. And Johnny Evans, talking on behalf of the players, described her also as remarkable. She was the best on a good day and the best on a bad day, he said.
Kath was a wonderful lady, and we all feel privileged to have been in her company at some point in the past, and always the first smiling face that you saw. Even when I was coming to the club as a very young man, she was always there on reception to greet you and everybody else.
Constantly smiling, constantly loved the job, loved working for the club. Loved helping everybody, you know, and she was the face of the club. She was the first person you've seen, whether at Old Trafford or the training ground. She was certainly the heart and soul of the place.
In an industry that's notoriously fickle, where players come and go and fans' moods swing on the kick of a football, Kath Phipps was loyal and dedicated, and omnipresent, the like of whom we'll never see again. Phil Cunliffe, BBC North West Tonight, Manchester.
It's a mark of the esteem, isn't it, the people that were there. She was a lovely lady. Now, all bus services in Greater Manchester are now back under public control for the first time in 40 years. The rollout of the B network is complete. That means that fares, timetables and routes are now set by the 10 local councils. Greater Manchester's Mayor Andy Burnham says that because the buses are greener, the government should now officially cancel the need for a clean air zone in the city region. Here's our transport correspondent, Judy Hobson.
It's been a bumpy journey, but for the first time in 40 years, Greater Manchester's buses are under the control of the local authority and not private operators.
We've delivered this phase of the B network on time and on budget, and it means real improvements for the public. It means new buses coming into service, lower fares from today.
Today, the Transport Secretary said she hoped the B network would inspire other local authorities. The Liverpool City region is also in the process of regulating its buses.
Since those buses have been brought back under the local control, passenger numbers and revenue going up, and that's in stark contrast to bus services in the rest of the country.
Passengers in Wythenshawe were glad that their bus services were finally joining the B network, but said there needed to be huge improvements.
I make a 25-minute walk to get the tram rather than getting the bus because they're so unreliable on this service. The 103 is every single day, it's unreliable.
Don't turn up, and I could come for like the 7 o'clock one, and like 2 of them haven't even turned up.
One transport campaigner said where B buses were in operation, there had been welcome improvements.
The B bus system is brilliant with the visual audio announcements when you get on and off. All journeys are joined up, you can get a tram and a bus and you will have the cost straight away of it.
As the B network buses are greener, the city's air quality should improve. The Mayor believes that negates a need for a charging clean air zone.
The biggest cause of air pollution in Greater Manchester has been buses. So the B network is cleaning up the air of Greater Manchester. And our argument back to the government is this is a much better way of doing it than a charging clean air zone.
Today, the Transport Secretary gave the clearest indication that drivers in Manchester will not be charged.
No plans to force a charged-for clean air zone on Greater Manchester.
Next, the Mayor hopes local rail travel will also come under the control of the B network. Judy Hobson, BBC North West Tonight, Wythenshawe.
Now, tributes have been paid today to James Lee Williams, better known as the drag queen, the Vivian, who's died aged 32. Described by their publicist as incredibly loved and warm-hearted, the Vivian, who moved to Liverpool as a teenager, won the first series of RuPaul's Drag Race UK in 2019 and starred in musical theatre and TV productions. Mairead Smith reports.
The Vivian. The moment the Vivian became one of the biggest stars of British drag, when she won the first season of RuPaul's Drag Race UK in 2019.
Oh, it's just absolutely crazy, isn't it? A dream come true. 12 years of working in dive bars and everything like that has just all come to fruition, and now I've got a crown and drag royalty, I suppose. Today, tributes have been paid to the drag icon. RuPaul's Drag Race UK said she will be dearly missed, but her legacy will live on as a beacon of creativity and authenticity. She embodied what it means to be a true champion.
The Vivienne was arguably the most famous drag artist in the UK and someone who meant a lot to the city of Liverpool, working here at Superstar Boudoir and the G-Bar nearby. She made the city her home when she was a teenager. Those who knew her and worked with her paid tribute to the Vivienne today.
We've worked together so much that to have that kind of missing now, it's a real shame and a real shock to everybody, not just in Liverpool, but also around the world, as of course everyone knows Viv now through Drag Race and the various other achievements.
Cheshire Police say there were no suspicious circumstances surrounding James Lee Williams' death, who, as the Vivienne, had finished on stage as the child catcher in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang in Blackpool at the end of December and was due in the same role in Sheffield in February and Manchester in March. And they were a big support to the charity Sahir House in Liverpool.
Before Drag Race, after Drag Race, would always want to support grassroots community charities, and it was always Sahir because we're the oldest charity in Liverpool for the LGBTQ+ community. We celebrate 40 years this year. Whenever she went on TV appearances, we were her chosen charity. Vivienne was just such a big character. We're not going to get that now, and that just hits home and hits hard.
Shortly after the news of the Vivienne's death, fellow drag queen Natasha Von Spirit paid tribute to her friend.
The influence she had on British drag and putting British drag in the mainstream, we're insanely proud of her. But whenever she was out since Drag Race in the scene, she was just, one of the Liverpool gays.
Mairead Smith, BBC Northwest Tonight, Liverpool.
We've got news of a big film premiere in just a moment, but before that, let's catch up on the sport. Richard is here. Manchester United defied many people's expectations at Liverpool yesterday, didn't they?
They really did, Rog. Not many pundits had predicted that Manchester United would come away with a point, had they? From Anfield, you can understand why. Arne Slot's top of the table Liverpool have been in excellent form, with United struggling, but it proved to be an even contest that finished 2-2. No need to panic, of course, for title-chasing Liverpool. But are there signs of real improvement for United?
The mind.
Yeah?
The mind. Today we changed the mindset, the beliefness, the confidence.
I think if you don't win, it's always an opportunity missed. I think we have to be absolutely honest with each other. It could have been a lot worse. Today was a very tough one. We got a point and we move on.
He's described the players in the past as being too anxious on the ball, and this time it did look like they were a bit more confident. They weren't overthinking everything they were doing. They were doing the first thing that came to mind. Felt like the problem with Manchester United, as it has been for a while now, is consistency. We need to see this on a regular, weekly, maybe twice a week basis.
Fantastic game, wasn't it? Manchester City manager Pep Guardiola says his team is still a long way from matching the levels they've set in recent seasons, despite the Blues equalling their biggest win of the season at the weekend.
The work ethic is unbelievable for all of us, but our game still is not the composure. Last 2 victories and the last 3 games we didn't lose, so it's good.
Everton's 1-0 defeat at Bournemouth leaves the Blues just a point above the bottom 3. In the Championship, Burnley are up to second after getting the better of East Lancashire neighbours Blackburn Rovers 1-0. Zian Fleming's header giving the Clarets a crucial 3 points at Ewood Park. Preston North End came back from a goal down at home to Oxford to draw 1-1. Will Keane with the goal for P&E. And in the promotion battle in League 2, there were important wins for third place Salford City, 1-0 at MK Dons, and Crewe, who climb above them to second, thanks to yesterday's 4-1 victory at home to Bromley. There were good wins in the battle to stay up for Tranmere and Accrington as well. In Rugby Union, Sale Sharks' Director of Rugby, Alex Sanderson, says his team will bounce back after the Sharks' 36-20 defeat at Gloucester. Sale have been in good form with 3 victories in a row before that defeat at Kingsholm. It's the Stormers in the Champions Cup next for Sale. Hopefully they'll bounce back from that defeat, as Alex says.
It's cold for the outdoor sports at the minute, isn't it?
It's freezing at the minute, Rog, isn't it?
Yeah, and for the fans. Rich, thank you very much. Simon will be here with the weather in just a minute. We're going to talk, first of all, though, about a glitzy red carpet film event last night. You might have heard about the Golden Globes. I'm not talking about that. It's this. Who needs Hollywood when you've got Burnley? The film about local bank Burnley Savings and Loans was a surprise hit for Netflix, so they've made a sequel. It is centred on the bank's crusading founder, Dave Fishwick. That's him on the left. No, it's not. It's him on the right, just in case you... They look very alike, don't they? Rory Kinnear plays him on the left, Dave is on the right, and Bank of Dave 2 could well be another hit, as Anna Jameson reports.
I set up the Bank of Dave.
So what?
Bank of Dave.
Who the hell is this clown?
Dave
Fishwick.
Dave. I'm Dave.
Hang on, what, from Bank of Dave?
Guilty as charged.
Yes, Dave Fishwick is back. Hooray! Arriving in one of his famous minibuses, the weather certainly wasn't going to stand in his way. Nor was it going to stop the Hollywood stars. As you can see, the full cast and crew have now arrived. There's a huge air of excitement. You can see just the amount of press here, the global interest in this film, and there's big hopes that this can get into the top 10 for Netflix for a second time.
I've got another bee in my bonnet. It's payday lenders and making people's lives a living hell. And I want to stop them.
We went after the payday loans. They are terrible people and they prey on the poor and vulnerable. So it's something that we need to be aware of. And we helped as many people as possible. Netflix gave us a huge big light to shine on the subject. It's so important.
And playing Dave, well, there's only one man for the job. Rory Kinnear, welcome to Burnley.
Thank you very much. Again?
For the second time now.
I should probably buy somewhere around the area.
You can't get enough of it. How was it filming the second Bank of Dave
Oh, it's
film?
fantastic, because we were sort of swept along by the groundswell of love that the first film had, really, and the fact that all the same crew returned and the cast returned, and it felt like putting the gang back together.
Are you now on best friend terms with Dave Fishwick? Does he call you up for a chat now and again?
Oh, God, no. You've got to keep some boundaries.
Why did Netflix want to get behind Dave Fishwick for a second time?
We loved making the first one. We absolutely loved it. And I think it went down so well with audiences, we thought we have to go again. The Dave versus the machine. And that's what I really love about it. And also doing movies about communities.
Oh, Dave. So tell me this. And this time, a familiar face and voice to many joins the cast.
Very unusual for me having to learn lines because I just say whatever comes off the top of my head.
Did you have to sign NDAs?
No NDAs, but I filmed it in March. And for me, keeping that a secret was crackers.
Joe Hartley returns to play Dave's wife, Nikki. Who do you prefer, Rory Kinnear or Dave Fishwick?
Well, I've been with him 30 years, so
Fancy a change?
It's got to be the man, hasn't it, really?
Oh.
The man of the moment.
Anna Jameson, BBC North West Tonight in Burnley.
I absolutely loved Bank of Dave. Bank of Dave 2, I'm sure, just as good. Right, let's have a look at the weather. Simon is here. We're going to see some viewers' photographs at the end, Simon, but we've had it all, haven't we? Floods,
we
snow,
have.
Nightmare for some people, but...
Yeah, and this is just today. There's still flooding in some parts of Greater Manchester. But for many through this morning, it was more snow causing disruption early on. We heard there earlier on about the disruption at Manchester Airport this morning. But yes, further snow showers rattle through this morning. And it stays cold and wintry throughout this week. So then, for today, we've had that snow, which has cleared away. But as we go through tonight and into tomorrow, we'll see further wintry showers and the risk of some ice. So there is a yellow Met Office warning in force until 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. Watch out for that as you are travelling on the road. And you can see these wintry showers already moving their way through across the northwest. There will be fleeting snow showers, mostly over the higher ground, but of course down to low levels you may see a little bit at a time. Not as bad as it was this morning, but with some clearer skies, temperatures will be getting down close to freezing, if not below. And of course there is a lot of dampness, a lot of water on the surfaces, and that will freeze. So this is where we've got the Met Office yellow warning in force, as I said, until 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. So as we go through the day on Tuesday, further wintry showers moving through. So you can see that mixture of rain turning to snow for a time, again, chiefly over the higher grounds, but can't be ruled out down to low levels. It'll be fairly wet, sleet and some snow. Some bright spells in between that. A rather brisk northwesterly wind. It's going to feel really quite cold. Maximum temperatures 3 or 4 degrees Celsius. But add on that wind, there will be a wind chill, making it feel like it's below freezing. And then for Wednesday and Thursday, we're kind of in between weather systems. That low pressure to the northeast, low pressure down to the south. But for us, it means with clear skies, Wednesday morning again is going to be particularly cold. A widespread and a hard frost. In the countryside, it could be as low as -6, -7 Celsius. But Wednesday, actually, some beautiful blue skies, lots of winter sunshine expected. Perhaps some mist and fog early on in the morning around parts of Greater Manchester towards Cheshire, but those should mostly clear away. But again, these are daytime maximums, -1 Celsius there in Burnley. Again, it is going to feel very cold throughout Wednesday. for the rest of the week, where we keep the cold air on Thursday and into Friday. Very gradually, the mild air will try to move its way in. Not really that convincing, but temperatures will eventually rise, especially as we go through into the end of the weekend and into next week, up to 6 or 7 Celsius there, but plenty of fine and dry weather.
And you were telling me earlier, you know all about the tricky travelling conditions.
Oh, yes.
This morning.
It was horrendous this morning, driving in.
Very early this morning.
Yes, it
Simon,
was.
thank you. As always, though, lots of you have sent some fantastic photographs of the weather, so we will leave you with some of your images to enjoy. Thanks for watching. Good night.
Bye.